compulsion, that the court had made such damning remarks against them that they were left with no other option but to withdraw this writ of theirs, withdraw this petition of theirs, and go back to the Income Tax Department, where they have to cooperate by submitting all the papers relating to young India.
Okay, you mentioned Dr. Singhvi many a times. He has now joined us. Dr. Singhvi, I know that you missed the beginning of Sambit Patra's comments there, but he's basically saying that it is an indictment. It's not just procedural, it is a setback, sir.
I don't think I've missed much because his comments are predictable. And I hope you'll give me proportionately equal time to clarify, because I'm quite appalled by the distortions going on the whole day. Point number one, I am prepared to apologize and withdraw if 80% of what he has just said. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, sir.
Yeah. I am prepared to withdraw if 80% of what you've just heard finds a mention anywhere in the order passed today. So I love this speculation and this entire febrile and fertile imagination which is putting all these adjectives. None of this finds place in a court order today. Number two, I argued the matter personally, and all that the court says in the order, which we must first focus on, and I'll make the other points in a moment, is that since every point you have raised in the petition, I am now with specific liberty allowing you to raise before the authorities. Why should we decide it? Please go there. And you are also entitled to raise the preliminary jurisdictional point that the notice could not have been issued in the first place because of absence of reason to believe. It was our view that this could not be decided by the IT authorities, but that should be decided by a writ court. Court said no, you can raise all points, and then in the order they record specific liberty given to me, on the basis of which I withdraw. That's point number two. Point number three, anybody who knows ABCD of Section 25 of the Companies Act knows that a special provision was created specifically to create not-for-profit companies. Assume you have 100% shareholding of a Section 25 company. I'm only assuming. It makes no difference. Every penny owned by that company, every asset owned by it, every house, car, every artifact owned by that company, it cannot inure to the benefit of a single shareholder or director of that company. That's the meaning and definition of Section 25.
All right.
Number four, you cannot pay out dividend, which is one way of enriching yourself as a director or a shareholder of a company. You cannot give out the fund of the company. You cannot do anything with it because by definition Section 25 company. Now all that Mr. Patra is doing is repeating the charges of Mr. Dr. Swami, which have found no resonance till now. The matter went up to the High Court. Subsequent to that, Mr. Swami went back to the trial court and made all kinds of demands about documents. According to us, 50% of what is happening today from the IT department is nothing but the fulfillment of Mr. Swami's demands by getting document after document in a fishing and roving inquiry. But now that the High Court has given us full liberty to challenge it before the department, every point I have taken today in the writ petition, including the lack of reason to believe, we will take again before the authority and we will await a decision against which we again have a right to go to the High Court.
All right. Okay. Okay, Dr. Singhvi, you made your points. Amit Patra, come in at that point that there's really, they don't stand to make a penny out of this. This is, of course, the point that has been made over and over again. What personal profit is the opposition talking about that really wasn't possible given the rules there? How do you respond to that, Mr. Patra?
Natasha, first and foremost, I mean, a very good vocabulary and fantastic English does not hide the truth. And Mr. Abhishek Manu Singhvi, though should be complimented for his English, but he has given out the truth in this case. What was the truth? The truth was they had gone to the High Court to seek relief from the Income Tax Department, that the Income Tax Department should not be sending them notices, and they did not want to send any kind of relevant documents to the Income Tax Department related to the Young India company, which was owned by Sonia ji and Rahul ji. But did they get the relief? No, they did not get the relief. Now, what is in the oral order? The oral order only speaks of the fact that the petition has been taken back. But the oral observations are equally important. And I had mentioned the oral observations, and Mr. Manu Singh, we can correct me if I'm wrong because I have done my homework very well. Tushar Mehta was representing the case, and the oral observation was, you cannot be arrogant. The Young India company cannot be arrogant. They cannot dictate the case. They have to go back to the income tax department and you have to cooperate there. If you force us to write a verdict, it would not be favorable for you. He can correct me. He's a very senior lawyer. He can correct a doctor if the doctor is wrong. Number two, in this case, if he's speaking about the Section 25 company, all is well. If all that Mr. Abhishek Manu Singhvi is trying to convince us tonight would have found waters, then today, I'm sorry to state, both Sonia ji and Rahul ji would not have been out on bail. The whole case would have been thrown out the windows of the courts of the country. Right. And I have the High Court order with me. Leave aside oral observation of 2015, the High Court order lies with me. Well, yes, the criminal conspiracy part was later struck down by the Supreme Court, but rest stands. And it is a clear-cut indictment. The words are so harsh. The words that the court have used for the Gandhis, for the Congress party, for Young India, if you want, I can read this out. The main persons who were instrumental in alleging siphoning of political funds were the recipients of the assignment of the huge debt by the Congress party, and they were the same persons who had clandestinely acquired the control of AJL. All this smacks of criminality. I withdraw the word criminality though, because that the Supreme Court has struck down, but definitely these are very harsh words by the court. The court is not convinced with Mr. Abhishek Manu Singhvi.
Three or four points. Right through the day, Natasha.
Go ahead, sir. I just want to add one question. You cannot be so arrogant. That's something that has been reported. It's also been denied. Now, just clear the air for us once and for all. Did that come up, sir, today?
Yes, I will. First and foremost, right through the day, I've been reading two comments. The court directs the income tax department to do this and do that. I don't understand how a withdrawal, when the basis is that we can raise everything before the department, has anything like a court direction to the IT. Second, the court directs Sonia Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi to appear before it. I don't understand the meaning of this. Anybody who knows anything about the legal proceedings, there's no such direction. There cannot be, there is none. Third, yes, we went to the High Court to seek relief, and to the extent that we have withdrawn means we have not got the relief. There is no doubt about that. The court put a specific question that for queries 5 and 6, there was no reply by us. To which our answer was, it is our official stand that we have not given any reply because queries 5 and 6 do not relate at all to the only two questions asked in the notice, which is about DOTEX. The only two questions asked by the IT department is about DOTEX, whereas queries 5 and 6, which they added subsequently, has nothing to do with DOTEX. So the question the court put to us, why we not answer that, we said we have written down to say that officially we don't want to answer that because that has nothing to do with DOTEX. So the court said, you can go and put all this before the department. I said, we have nothing to be arrogant about because we are going to put everything before the department. But the jurisdictional question, whether the department could have at all issued the notice, may not be decidable by the department. At which point the court said, we by this order is giving you the power to the department and directing the department that all questions raised by you, including the jurisdictional question, will be decided. As a matter of fact, with this sentence in the order, I would say it's a victory for us because we have no fun and joy in coming to the High Court if our jurisdictional question will be decided by the department itself. Now the department will decide it against us or for us. Suppose it decides against us, we have a right to come back to the writ court again. So I don't see these large adjectives used. As far as the passage you just read from the judgment of Justice God, the single judge of the High Court, it is precisely that para which he has read, which was modified by the Supreme Court. And subsequent to that, Mr. Swami, Dr. Swami went down to the trial court, asked for a whole bunch of documents, and that those documents were not disclosed or given to Mr. Dr. Swami by the court. So Dr. Swami then found a novel method of thereafter saying that the department will get those same documents.
Dr. Singhvi, I just have one question that many people are asking after what's happened today. Is it possible, or sort of are we one step closer to seeing a court appearance for the Gandhis? How would you respond? Is it too soon to say? Is this a step in that direction now? Is this where it's going next? Or there's no say?
Okay, about this great lust for blood, which I find in every element of the BJP, let me tell you, the vengeance for blood was satisfied by the Gandhis, who against our advice, right at the beginning, when the original trial court summons was issued, against our advice that we say, said no, we will present ourselves in court to seek bail. And they came like commoners and sought bail. A lot of procedures are available at that time not to seek bail.
All right.
So what Mr. Patra is making much about was offered suo motu and voluntarily in day one. On that day, they sought bail. They then honorably fought that case, the main chunk of which was modified by the Supreme Court. But yes, quashing was not allowed against us on the basis that it discloses sufficient allegations to be gone into, with no observation on the merits. None. Now that matter is pending in the trial court, right across the government, and let me just finish it 1 minute more. This government, I find today, is desperately circulating, as if it has got nothing better to do than run the country, circulating unsigned notes about how tendentious and how bad the order was today. They are not quoting the order in those notes.
I think
we have got unsigned notes circulated to the entire press by this government.
Mr. Patra, I'll let you in just a moment. I just need to get Sabha in.
And the boklar of the government.
I'll just take 10 seconds, not more than that.
Just 10 seconds and no more.
Not more than that. With due apologies to Sabha, I'm so sorry, but 10 seconds, because I would humorously say that I've never seen such kind of celebration over corruption. Though both of them are out on bail, but the beauty with which Mr. Abhishek Manu Singhvi puts forth their case and with which he defends them, saying that almost they are so honest people, but they're celebrating with their bail. The courts are not political domains. Courts are not political arena. Courts move on merits. And that's the reason as to why what I read out, we have umpteen number of paragraphs I can read out, which I am holding myself back from reading out. It indicts with Sonia Gandhi, whom they call as accused number 1, and Rahul Gandhi, whom they call as accused number 2. But this kind of celebration of corruption is new to Indian polity.
Okay, thank you for not reading it out, because we won't manage in our, the time assigned to us of just some 20 odd minutes. But Sabha, I just need to get you in.
Accused is read by the BJP to be convict number 1 and convict number 2.
Okay. Sabha, I just need to get you in. I need to get you in on something different. Sabha, my question to you is somewhat different. Is it, which is another sort of, theory doing the rounds today, is the kind of impact that this development, if any, will have on the presidential election. We know that Sonia Gandhi has been working the phone lines, trying to get the opposition to meet. Do you believe that that is likely to happen? Is there any fallout of this on the opposition, on the Congress-led move to come up with a presidential candidate?
I mean, I don't know, Natasha. Very frankly, I would not even dare to argue with the legalese that's been touted out in this program by Mr. Singhvi and by Sambit. I wouldn't dare to argue. Obviously, there are political implications to all of this. We have an ecosystem in place now. We have a shift in the ecosystem. India has always been very corrupt. There has been the political class has combined to make sure that sources of political funding are not explored. They have all been part of this together. I have no doubt that the largest corruption cases will always emerge from the Congress party, which has ruled India for most of its history. And we have a system which is opaque, where politicians, we don't know how money is rooted. It's indeed true. And now we have an ecosystem in place where all the opposition forces are facing the heat. Now the BJP would do a great service to the nation if they actually overhaul this system, instead of just using it for, to get at people who are already defeated, to fix them a little bit more. It would actually be a service to the nation if the BJP was to do it. Now, I say this, I would also make another point, Natasha, it's an intriguing point, but the question of personal corruption of the Prime Minister or the second most powerful individual in the BJP, which would be the Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister, is not there because they don't have families. These are independent men. I mean, let's face it, if we analyze it, people seem to want to give things to their children. Yet, please note that the Bharatiya Janata Party has the most expensive election campaigns, so a lot of money comes in there. What I'd like to see is accounting of political funding, and all of this will go on. One day we have Congress in the dock, one day we have Lalu in the dock, we have everyone in the dock, so there is a new ecosystem in the place. I have nothing against everyone being in the dock, as long as the system is overhauled and it's not selective. And we have to know that
selective. Samit Batra coming here. As long as it's not selective, we go after everyone. We beat everyone with the same stick. Go ahead, Mr. Patra, quickly.
Yeah.
No, it's definitely not selective, because we did not get into the mobile phone of Mr. Nasimuddin Siddiqui and get Mayawati ji to speak into it. What Mayawati ji had heard came up in the public domain. We did not go into the documents of Misha Bharti ji and say that, well, yes, you go and buy a 100 crore worth property in Delhi's Bijwasan just for 1 crore rupees and don't pay the taxes on it. We didn't do that. They did it. And we did not go into the minds of Rahul ji and Sonia ji and say that, please buy properties worth 5,000 crore for only 50 lakh rupees. They did it. And all of them were doing great disservice to the nation, because they were bypassing the legalities of this country. And our job is not to stand in the way of the law. The issue is, for most of the years, these people stood by the way of the law, not allowing the law to function. Remember one important case of Ashok Chauhan, where the governor did not allow the sanction to take place. We came and say nothing doing. If there is a wrongdoing, the governor should sanction. That's how it should be. If there is a wrongdoing, it should not go unpunished. And the conglomerate of corrupt will not win the 2019 New India.
Okay. Dr. Singh, would you like to respond to that? Going after everyone in the same way, no corruption will be allowed by anybody?
I think the hallmark of this government has been vendetta since it has come. Everybody knows the kind of focused vendetta practiced by this government through micromanagement. To an extent, it's been the Gujarat model. If corruption is such an issue, I would like to ask a simple question. All this mammoth amounts of money which the BJP spends from UP to Maharashtra to Gujarat, either it falls from heaven or it comes from RBI. I'm sure there's not a minority of even one which thinks that this money is all clean. The amounts which the BJP spends as an opposition is far, far higher than governments in power spend. The kind of campaigns they run and ran in 2014, which now seems like a distant memory but must not be forgotten, and ran in UP. Do you think it all came from clean money? I would really appreciate Mr. Modi if he went after that. I would really appreciate Mr. Modi, if all those 5 cases of prior to demonetization, which have credible evidence of people having advanced information to change mammoth sums of money across the length and breadth of India happened, I would just think that it's less selective and more equal if those were in the dock as well.
Of course, Mr. Patra is saying that that's exactly what is happening. There is no selectivity as far as going after those corruption is concerned, but I'm afraid I'm completely out of time. Sorry, sir, I would have liked to get in one more question with you, but thank you so much for your patience and staying on. Dr. Singhvi and Sambit Patra, thanks very much also for joining us on the program. The last word on this clearly hasn't been spoken, and neither has it been spoken on the fate of Indian IT. Layoffs are here to stay. Tech Mahindra was, of course, the latest yesterday to sack around 1,000 employees, but they are clearly not the only ones. So what exactly is going on with the Indian IT, and where does Indian IT go from here? Joining me now, R. Chandrasekhar, president of industry body NASSCOM. Thank you so much, sir, for taking our time to speak to us. Now, you know, the big headlines this week have been all about those job losses, sir, and much sort of hand-wringing and chest beating about where Indian IT is going. Do you believe this is just a sort of a hurdle? Is it just a bump on the road, or should we be taking it far more seriously?
The answer, Natasha, is none of the above. First, let me start by categorically saying that many of the recent reports about mass layoffs by IT companies are both incorrect and misleading. Let me tell you what the facts are. The facts are that we are in a situation where there is rapid evolution of technology taking place, and this is leading to changing business needs. As a result of this, the focus has shifted, no doubt, from scale to skill. And a lot of companies are focusing on reskilling of their employees. They are making big investments in reskilling, and that's how, as a country and as an industry, we can boast of over 300,000 digitally skilled experts in the country today. At the same time, realignment of the workforce based on these changing business needs linked to internal appraisal processes has been a norm of the industry for years. It is absolutely nothing new that is happening today. This combination of reskilling of existing workforce and realignment linked to appraisal is what keeps the industry competitive in an international competitive environment.
Okay,
and
fair
even
enough.
today, the industry is a net hirer of 150,000 people a year.
Absolutely.
This is the facts.
Absolutely, which is, of course, it's good to sort of have these facts out there. Sometimes perspective really is everything and very important. But there are all those who are calling some of these layoffs illegal. We know what's happened with Cognizant, and there's been a group of employees that's gone to two state governments, saying that there should be action. In this scenario, how would you like to see Indian IT respond? Or do you believe that the response is adequate?
As I told you, the emphasis is on reskilling of employees because the technology is changing, the skills needed are changing. This kind of realignment of workforce linked to the needs of the businesses and linked to performance appraisal has been a normal practice. As the numbers grow large, let us realize that this is an industry which employs 4 million people. So if you have a realignment which results in, workforce, even a 1% impact on the workforce, that's 40,000 people. But notwithstanding that, the industry is still hiring 150,000 people. So anybody who has the skills today is still very much in demand and can still be hired. It's only if people are not acquiring the requisite skills that they find a difficulty in getting employment.
Okay.
This is the situation.
So I think it's important not just for the companies to stay ahead of the game, but of course also for individuals and to constantly be upskilling. Last words are very quickly. Last words are very quickly. I am completely out of time. As far as the Trump administration is concerned and India's response to visas and all of that, do you believe that we are doing enough? We are doing everything we can?
Well, I think there's a lot more that we need to do, essentially to, again, avoid misleading reports and motivated statements from dominating the narrative. The reality is that there has been substantial employment created in the US by the industry over the years, both within the industry, indirectly because of the employment within the industry, as well as in the companies that they serve because of the increased efficiency that they create. All of these numbers have been collated. It's just that people have started speaking a little more about it because it appears that a lot of decision makers are not aware of the fact that it's a net contributor, and nowhere like the job stealer that is being painted out to be.
I think that's a good point, so that the narrative and why we need to sort of put our side and it's the other narrative out there. But thanks very much, Chandrasekhar sir, for your time this evening, putting in perspective just what's happening in all the news, not very good pink news as it's being called, dominating the headlines. Thanks very much, sir, for your time. Well, that's it then on Left, Right and Centre this evening. But don't forget to watch our special program at 9:30 this evening.